right, mic check. Hey, good. Countdown, still going strong. Excellent. All right, see if we can make a quick switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and go. There. Hey, there we go. Quick switch. Voila. There you go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Betterment Broadcast. I'm your host, Rap Raven. This is show 59, I believe. And yeah, so obviously this is for those who are locked in live and those who are going to be listening in the future times. This is the Black Betterment Broadcast. Now, as with most shows, or if not every single one to be true, we have to go through a small protocol before we start our show. So let's do that. Let's do a small protocol before we start. So, after much research, I've unfortunately concluded that currently, black people are collectively inadequate. Very important quote there. Black people being collectively inadequate. Very important, and we must remember that because this quote shall help you try to find solutions. I guarantee. So that's right. As it stands at the moment, when it comes to trying to, do anything of a great collective nature, that is on a broad sense, betterment seeking, and building and this kind of good, fantastic stuff. Unfortunately, we are somewhat falling short, but that's why we have these kind of broadcasts to actually help us as a collective group and see what we can do. Excellent. So let's move on. So naturally, I'm going to send out the link for people to talk this show. Wouldn't be anything without people who contribute and jump in after I do my other intro and spiel. But obviously, we want to try to maintain some kind of structure. So we push forward the 4D values, which are, as we all know, discipline, dedication, discernment, and dignity. That's right. So these are the 4Ds that I would recommend all black people use when you're trying to find solutions, if possible. Generally at all times, but use this, and I somewhat guarantee that finding solutions shall be just that little bit more easier, which is always good. All right, excellent, nice. So also when it comes to language, try not to use derogatory terms if possible, especially on the show. Just use descriptive terms, and there's some list there. In the future time, you can pause this video, have a quick read, just to see what might be derogatory, what might be descriptive. Try to use more descriptive and define things by that, and that will be great. Excellent. Now, what is Black Betterment? Black Betterment is black people helping black people on black issues for betterment. That's pretty much it. That is what it is. So that means the whole concept of this broadcast is promotion of the lifestyle of Black Betterment. That's right. So Black Betterment is a lifestyle. And we say this at every show to let you know what it's about. You don't want to forget, this is the intro spiel. I have to read this out because we will be showing quite a few videos today, and let you know that none of these videos are ours, and we want to promote them as well so you can check them out. Why is this not refreshing? Seems a bit. Well, there we go. Now it's refreshing. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profiting, educational, or personal use tips to balance in the favor of fair use. So basically, what I'm saying there is we're going to use other people's material, it's not ours. We're not making any money off it. Not trying to claim it, plagiarism, anything like that. We're just going to use it so we can study it and learn from it and all that good stuff. So before we actually get to our actual topic, let me just, we're going to, sometimes we have current topics because, with some of our betterment, there's ongoing topics that are always new and fresh, but also there's things coming out. We want to make sure we're on the ball, we don't miss certain key things. So if those who don't know, those who actually have Netflix, currently there's a show called Dave Chappelle, the Closer, I think it is, something like that. He has certain jokes aiming towards the LGBTQ community, but more so, I guess, towards I would say most of the trans part of that, but they're all a collective force, and they're not best pleased, and they've been protesting. When I say protesting, more so the employees of Netflix, more so those. Bless me, pardon me. More so those members have been protesting. They're not best pleased with the jokes. They didn't find the punchlines that funny, and The reason why I bring this up, and I've seen this floating around, I thought about this, but it also came up in the live feed, was not too long ago, they had a show. I haven't seen it, and I suspect I'll never see it, which is really bad for me to give social commentary for something I haven't seen. But I have seen the marketing standpoint, and I have worked in marketing, so I know how these things work. There was a show called Cuties, I believe it was, and there's young children in there, many of many black, whatever, who are like the front headline, I guess, stars. And I think there was a what people refer to as very over sexualized marketing campaign. I haven't seen the content, so I don't know if this is some kind of whimsical nothingness that happens in the thing. But for a poster and these kinds of promotions, it's there's a problem. Now the reason why we bring it up is because there was no actual complaints about from the LGBT community about these kind of things. Now you're probably thinking, well, why would they? Why would they? They're not children, and more importantly, they don't have children. Well, some do, but some don't. But technically, if you understand what I'm saying, and I think that's important because that's what I'm trying to tell you, that the LGBTQ community, their focus might not be children, and they also might have a different sense of what might be best for children. I think this correlates with people being most not best pleased with some strategies of LGBT transgender people going to schools and doing certain kinds of educational based teaching of what it is to be LGB and this kind of stuff. So this is just the parallels for us to be aware of about what really gets them angry. When I say I'm talking to the LGBT community, and just like for us to keep note of, and maybe we can talk about this in more depth. I know this topic might be much more stressful for people with children, viewers, and we can always talk about it. And if you are of the LGBTQ community, feel free to come in for us to discuss it. I noticed that a lot of the Netflix complaints were headed by people of African descent. I noticed that. So with some, there's definitely people of African descent within the community that we can have a conversation about. Excellent, cool. So we're going to now go to today's topic, which is: are black men's actions pushing black women away? Say again: are black men's actions pushing black women away? Very important. And I'm also going to go into which three negative perceptions should black men try to fix first. Now, why am I saying this? There's always been a historical, I guess, between men and women generally, but in the black community, it's no different. And there's always been misunderstanding, this kind of stuff. And I think there's certain kinds of things that might be getting more prominent now, and that is, black women not best pleased with the actions or the lack of actions from black men collectively. Now, obviously, individually, people have husbands, brothers, and these kinds of stuff, and fathers and that kind of stuff. But generally, we're talking about as a collective. And I've been doing some, much researching a lot of black women platforms and black men platforms, and also, and all across the world, and especially in the diaspora, black people in the diaspora. And it does seem to be that although there is many great men, many, and I'm sure that they have to come up, some women are feeling, somewhat let down by certain things. So we're gonna see if we can evaluate, which three perceptions. I'm saying perceptions, because some people might not accept it, but maybe they should, who knows? But what are three of those perceptions that black men should try to change? Now, before I start that, what do I want? Okay, yeah. So before I move on to those, should I go onto the list or should I go on to a video? Hmm. 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 Let me go for the list, and then I'll jump on the video. I think that, yeah, why not? Why not? See the brother there's thinking just like I was. So yeah, in the picture, if you can see that. Voila. Anyway, so let's go on to the first one. So basically, funny enough, I just did a random Google search. And I came across a brother called David Amika Ogbugu. If I pronounce that wrong, 1,000 shames on me. I suspect the brother's from Nigeria. A wonderful name. We should all try to have African names. Amazing. I think this brother actually goes to Speaker's Corner. I probably missed him because I go there as well. I used to, more so back in the day. I think he wrote something for The Voice, and he just put three notes down. We're good to actually interview him on there, but he put three things down that maybe many women might agree with. And remember, it's also more important about getting women's Oh, there we go. We already have someone throwing some good stuff. So I didn't see that. Lack of leadership commitment and integrity. You know what's funny? We're going to see what I've got down, and that might actually correlate. So let's see if they correlate at all. So the lack of maturity and drive to have successful careers. Okay, so that's one. That's something we're going to unpack. That's a very important one to unpack. Uh, I will be talking to men directly. I can also facilitate talks to women, but there is a strategy that women will have to fix women and men will have to fix men. But we will talk about our issues and this kind of stuff, right? So I will use this platform for women to have their conversations, and I also have this platform to facilitate men to have that. But I will be going strong at men um, who I've to actually make amends and to own up to certain responsibilities. And and here's number one. It's yes, the reported lack of maturity or drive to have successful careers. So this is something we need to be reviewing. All right, what's number two? I have to my finger. There we go. The lack of black father figures. Okay, there you go. That's something that we need to review. Is that true? If it is true, it's unacceptable, and it's something we need to work on. We need to get structure back. That needs to be a primary value to make sure that our children. And this obviously correlates with women as well, but but more so, you never necessarily hear a child say they never had a mother figure. They might have said that maybe their mother figure might be distant and cold, and that's something that we can review as well, like parents who are distant, but generally the mother is there. Big difference between Caribbean, African, and South American regarding family. All right. Big difference between Caribbean, African, and South American regarding family. So I believe Diamonds is saying there's a difference, or maybe they're similar. I don't know, but we can unpack that as time goes by. Voila. And number three is desire of some black men to see outside their. Okay, so that's another issue. The miscegenation thing as well, as in the speed and high levels of black men practicing miscegenation and this kinds of stuff. I think across the world, black men are only really rivaled by Asian, Chinese Asian, or East Asian women when it comes to the high capacity, the high rate of dating and marrying. It's not dating's not dating's never a good word. Marrying, that's marrying and having children and giving your assets away, your resources and your generational wealth. More so with Asian women, they're receiving the generational wealth, whatever it is. But with black men, if they earn anything at all, they're giving that away to non-black women, which it is a bit of a challenge when you're trying to have generational wealth. You're trying to fix the black community, and this is a challenge that black men have to hold their hands up for, and it does come down to collective inadequacies, and that's why we do want to start the Black Love campaign, but we can't really start that until we fix the internal conversation between black men and black women, make sure that we're on the same page. And also reclaiming of words. We're actively trying to take back the concept of black love, meaning black man and black woman. Some people use it as in if one black person finds love. This is not correct behavior. And also the concept of pro-black. This is something I'm pushing forward. I think it's necessary that pro-blackness cannot include as a title if you are not in a black love relationship, as in if you choose to not, just for marketing, branding purposes, doesn't mean you're not a good person, you can't love black people, but it's just, you can't call you can't, a vegan can't eat a steak sandwich and call himself a vegan, just doesn't really work, so blah, 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 good stuff. Right, so what else we got? No plan. Let's see, we've got some great feedback coming. No plan for a next generation, impact on mental health and identity of what it means to be a man. A good one there. Diamonds is going in. Rejection and education, it looks like as well. Cool. So now I've gone through the three. Now what we're going to do is there's a let me see if I get the now this is not my video, and I want you to go and support a video called Black Canvas TV, and they spell black BLVCK spacebar CANVAS spacebar TV. Could be wrong, but I'm sure you find that. But you can run an algorithm and find it. Blah blah blah. So yeah, I came across their video. English, British-based black people. It's always good to see that. And we're going to invite maybe women on if they always want to come on. And this is a quick conversation. And what they're talking about is their perception of black men. So let's have a sneak peek on the boutique. Let's see what they're saying. Go go go.
Again, who wants to comment on the intention behind why you date? Because the reason why I asked in comparison to black men is because I feel like as black women, are we doing ourselves a disservice if actually we're being so specific and so like, you know, he has to be this. Meanwhile, black men don't share those same sentiments. So are you...
Just to catch up, what they're talking about is, a lot of black women have their preference in black men for many reasons. And they hold out and they're saying that even though you might do this, black men might not share the same sentiment. And there are some other challenges about the availability of good black men or just good men in general. So should you open your options? Now, I can never speak for a woman. I am definitely pro black love, and because how it integrates into black betterment and the black community. But once again, my conversation can never be with black women. It has to be with black men. So I can't say anything about that. Also, let me just put that on the thing for us to sneak peek at that. Also, many black men reject help and good advice in favor of friends who is no better person than them. Yep, okay. We want to tackle that. Let's carry on with the video. Go!
Are you willing to just ride out for black men, right? And then potentially deprive yourself of a meaningful relationship?
If you're a black woman, tell your black friends to log in to have a sneak peek. Always good to hear their opinions. This show is I don't like the word safe place. Never good. Something just roused about them, but it's definitely a safe place for black people, but more so for black women. We do want to, that's like you see these fantastic women having the conversation. We want to get to the point where we have many intellectual or just entry level people speaking about black issues, and we can collectively find solutions. So let's see what these lovely ladies have to say before we chime in. Go.
Because you want to uphold, this idea of the black family when black men don't really seem to have the same sentiment. Tatiana?
Yeah, I think for me, like I have a preference for black guys, but I'm obviously a mixed black woman. So both of my parents are mixed race, as are my grandparents. It's only my great grandparents where you have that distinct delineation, because I'm from Southern Africa, and race just evolved in that way there. But I will say, like, my blackness is so core to who I am. So whoever I date, I think I'm open to dating outside of like mixed black people. But like someone would have to really understand how I navigate the world, and also my strong allyship to the black community. Like that is a community that I'm a part of. It's a community I care about, and I have certain experiences based on my race, right? And so I think for me, when I think about dating someone, it would be really hard to date someone who doesn't have that like first-hand experience and understanding. And I struggle to think, like, could I meet someone who is outside of my race or ethnicity who would really empathize with me? If I did meet someone who had that, then yeah, I'd be open to it. But I haven't come across anyone yet. So
does anybody else want to piggyback off of that?
I'll let Rita go. Who was that?
Oh, that was me. Go ahead, Rita.
Oh, okay. So in me, I'm comfortable dating outside of my race. I see it as when I have children that I'm black, they're going to be black. So yeah, it is what it is. I think that when it comes to say the phrase where people talk.
And once again, I'm not going to stop the lady. I will not comment on women's choices, and I understand there's very challenges. And as technical as real that might be, one thing we do try to tell the black men, this is part of how to maintain black families, is whatever you do as an individual, we want to lead by example. So whatever you choose to do, it might be most difficult for you to explain to your child to do other than that. So if you haven't picked a black partner, it might be most challenging to tell your kids not to do that. So things to think about. This is more so me talking to men, women, do what you're doing. We're trying to fix men to carry on.
About UK black men and whether they're as specific as black women. I think that could be sort of, I think that's, again, a general male issue, not even an issue, but it's a general male thing. Like, and I know it's a generalization. So yes, there will be exceptions and there'll be other groups who think differently. But I think men often don't think...
Update text. Rat Raven, don't know where we are in the convo, but I can honestly say the behavior of black men online leaves much to be desired. Thank you, brother Ultra. It is something that I'm going to try to collate many men together to discuss. One thing I've been analyzing behaviors, and maybe we can't really acknowledge it, but the emotionalism that many men I know is carrying needs to be reviewed. Many men will hear what a woman says and then become completely emotional towards certain criticisms, true or not, more so true. And some men forget that when men become like erupted and angry, it can actually end conversations. I mean, same with black women too. I'm not too sure if what Diamonds is saying, that black women might also be emotional. If that's what you're saying, however, we have to leave some expectation that women will be tend to be more emotional in certain aspects, and also we have to understand that whether we like it or not, there are a charge of men being protectors and providers, and if you're a protector, you have to protect the emotions of women. Make sure they feel comfortable to have their say. And look, whether we want to admit or not, in many circles, the black women are the most educated, and their ideas will probably be a bit more rounded because they're more educated on something to talk about. So stuff to review and go over. But anyway, let's carry on listening to what the sister's saying. Go.
And it's not all men, but they don't often think as far ahead, and they don't often scrutinize, the pitfalls or the pros and cons in the way that we can tend to do about things like relationships. So for a lot of women, they're already thinking about their children and how they want their children to be raised, and how different cultural aspects and how they will intertwine. Whereas a lot of men can sometimes be like, she seems cool. Like, do you know what I mean? I've had a lot of male friends who have procreated with people who seem to be polar opposites, race-wise, culture-wise, etc. And yes, a lot of the time it does work. I have, mixed people in my family. It does work successfully. Sometimes the guys have been like, I just wish I actually took time to get to know her from a family type of perspective, and not just we're going to dinner and this is fun and we have great sex. They say, I wish I actually thought about things like what type of mother she would be, how she would fit in with my family, because once they then had a child, things just weren't as they weren't as good. So I do think that in general, sometimes men don't think as much about, say, the family unit when they are choosing partners or procreating, and how cultures are going to mix, or even just values, their own internal values, and how they mix and intertwine with somebody else.
Interesting point. Do some black men think about more so than how attractive someone is? Do they think about what the offspring might think and connection with other families? Do they think about business and second generational wealth? Probably not. That's something we have to really promote. Blah blah blah. Move on. A few more minutes of this, then we'll move on.
But in general, I think it's, again, other people. It's just echoing what they've said in terms of, it's about finding somebody who fits in with your values and understands your struggle. So if you can find that, and you find somebody that understands you and is open, willing to communicate with you on that level and empathize, and not just their way or the highway type of thing, then I think you're on the right path, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. How do you ladies in general feel about black men? And that feels like a bit of a loaded question, but how do you feel?
Very important question. This is a question we'll be asking black women. If you are a black woman in the comments live now, feel free to give your opinion. I would always stress that obviously, we do have issues with some emotionalism with some black men, but generally there is a need to know the truth, how you feel. Also, I understand there's a history of pain. I think they mentioned it in here, like at certain points in Twitter, and I think in the group, in the forum, they were mentioning that social media brings out the worst in people and helps magnify certain behavioral patterns. But very important we have this conversation. It's very important. Okay, what's this? This thing is actually blocking the thing, so I can't see it, but maybe there. Mental and emotional health in black men is a concern for me. Identifying past trauma is easy, in my opinion. Isn't dealt with because some misguided sense of macho BS, rap raven. Yep. And many mixed children are represented in the care systems. White women often let me actually swap that. There you go. Men often left holding the babies that cannot cope that cannot cope with. Black men abandon their children no matter what race the woman is. Now, obviously, we always have to shout out the stay-home fathers through righteousness, but we will be focused on the shortcomings. And if we do want to identify the level of black men who don't raise their children, and we do want to ask the question, why is that, and how do we change that? This is obviously a recipe for disaster. and it's a chain legacy that it might be continued, and a Pandora's box and an infinite curse that might keep going. If you do it once, happens again and again and again. So we do want to have a conversation about this. And if this happened to you, let us know. We have to ask how many people were actually raised with their fathers around. And the question, the question is, why did the men walk away? And then we don't necessarily want to look at the woman and go, why did you pick incorrectly? No, because why did the man walk away should be the primary question. But while we're working on that, we do want to give insights of how best to stay away from certain behavioral patterns, and that's where the controversy comes in. But it is the man's choice to leave, so that's something we have to focus on. Right, where are we? I'm married to the mother of my 4 kids. Black men don't cheat. Hashtag let's change narrative. Very good point. Now, when brother says his particular story, brother Ultra there, is a campaign we want to be pushing. We want to be pushing big stories. I do follow like Black Love pages, and we did talk about one a few weeks ago. There was a particular, it's actually called Black Love on Instagram, and they don't just specialize in Black Love. They also show miscegenation, this kind of stuff. But I don't think that's correct behavior. But we definitely want to be showing more Black Love propaganda, Black Love imagery, Black Love, just to help train and change the narrative. But we definitely want to focus on the people who are not experiencing that and finding ways to try to make that a value in the system. I might not be able the person to do that, but hopefully I can highlight that. Let's see what we've got. More messages coming in. Hold on, let's go through them. I think some black men came out of the adolescence in the 40s and 50s. Yes, there is much people believe that many black men are in their second childhood and they don't grow up. There's reasons for this. Coddling could be a situation. If you are a single parent, are you a mother? Are you a mother who tends to leave your sons to do what they want while the daughters are cleaning and cooking and learning how to pretty much be independent while the men are being mothered? If you're doing this, you might be contributing to the problem. Obviously, the stage 1 problem is the man not being there. Stage 2 problem is the woman not understanding any kind of structure to put into the man's life to make him valuable. And there's nothing more tragic than a valueless person, a person who has yet to discover their value, and also a person who doesn't have to contribute. That's very important. Contribution is very important when we're trying to have a household. There we go. Next questions. I think they're talking to each other now. Let's make sure I'm not going into name calling. But Becky was a bit of a jungle fever. They never meant to marry Becky and raise kids. Mixed race kids are casualty of black versus white war. Yeah, so there is that issue of I'm not too sure. There are issues there. Becky was a bit of a jungle. I can repeat the same twice. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, like I said, here the Black Betterment thing, and I'm trying to have codified ways of talking to show that if you're trying to fix black issues, one of the issues is black love, and it's very important that we understand what black love is. This show is known as the Black Betterment Broadcast, and we're promoting a lifestyle known as Black Betterment. Now, if you do not end up with a black partner, then you cannot be perceived as a black betterer. You can be perceived as a black betterment builder, which is a thing, and I shall go through these definitions later. But I think definitions matter. That's because we understand that veganism is a lifestyle, and as long as you understand the lifestyle, you can build from it. And in future shows, I will tell you how we can go from lifestyles to kinships, and not kinship, fellowships, right? As in like brotherhoods and sisters working together to find solutions, blah, blah, blah. So that we'll get there maybe next week or sometime, I don't know. But at the moment, let's still go through the messages. I think black men build foundations for the next generation. I think we need black. Yeah, so one of the biggest complaints about black men generally from what I'm observing is black men tend to not build anything or anything that can really last that is for the black community. This is something we definitely as men need to come together and start establish what we're building. A lot of kumbayaism going on in black men. We need to fix that. Yeah, Diamond, some of us can be immature, however, it's having the ability to turn off the right times that matters. And black men must be just as protective of their families as they do their egos. Very good poetry there. By the same women, if you are women, feel free to be open. This is the platform we want to hear all your complaints, and hopefully we can collate a very strong thinking black men to come to work on solutions. The trick is to make sure that black women collectively feel secure and safe around black men and feel like they have something worthy there. So that is the goal. And if that is not the consensus, then we have to review why and change it. Wife and kids are very true. We need to put the value in your wife and kids. If people don't, obviously many black men do this, but it's the ones who don't who get the limelight, and this is a problematic behavior. find someone who have faith can often be more. Find someone who have a faith can often be more stable. I think when you say faith, you're talking about maybe a background of spirituality or religion, I'm assuming. And then we have brother talking about the nations of him, Jamaican, and is that I can't. The flag's a bit too small, but I assume it looks like African flag, maybe central. But I can't see it. Okay, well we're going to play the video a bit more in a bit. And we'll play a bit more while I'll put the stuff on the screen. Voila, play. And by the way, this is not my video. This is from another show. Please support them, make them very famous.
Voila. About
Tanzania,
today,
of course.
2021.
Yeah.
In the UK. How do you feel about that,
Tanzania.
Personally, I feel that I'm open to dating all races. I don't have a preference, but I do find myself when I am introduced to black men, socializing with black men, I have to question, does he go for me as a black woman?
Okay, this is something that's very important. This black woman is questioning whether black men love black women or find black women attractive. This is something that black men don't necessarily feel from black women, and they haven't learned this feeling. But when I've seen black men see what they're now defined as swallowers and divestors and these kinds of new age stuff, whatever, many black men, especially the emotional black men, are obviously collapsing because many black men never dreamt of a concept of black women that find them finding interest in other men. And what we have to argue is, if physical attraction is the only thing that keeps, that you have to give someone, you have to work on. You have to actually lead with your ability to build, provide, protect. These old school kind of stuff that's served communities well for eons. Kind of need to understand those values. But let's move on. Let's carry this to hear what Sister's saying, because it's very, very tragic thought pattern, and we have to help with.
That is something that crosses my mind a lot, and it's something that I'm very aware of in other communities. It may not be as prevalent for them. They may not have to wonder if somebody who is from the exact same community as them with similar coloring, they don't have to wonder if this man is attracted to me based on the color of my skin. Whereas when I think about women, that is something that does cross my mind. And so that plays a big part in me and how I interact with them, because I'm very open to black men, but I'm just not too sure if the energy that I get back is reciprocated.
Is that something that's shared by all of you? Do you feel the same, or does anyone have a?
I feel the same. I think I used to feel that way, when I was younger. So back in my late teens or my mid-teens, where on social media there was just a lot of hate for black women, and I used to see that online a lot. And then I would go outside and see a lot of black guys with white girls. So it's like, okay, you're talking rubbish online, and it's manifesting in real life. So it's just okay, so what does this mean for me? And that's where I was in, okay, I'm now not going to limit myself, because I'm just like Mona. I don't have a preference in terms of race. I'm a person, I have a big heart. I just love people. So if you come, if your heart is right, if your mind's in the right place, then I could be with you. So when it comes to black guys, I did have this reservation where I would prefer not to be with them, just because of that kind of the damage and the abuse that I've saw online and then seeing in real life. But then I got older, and then I started talking to more, I've talked to white guys, I've talked to Asian guys, I've talked to black guys, and I saw especially I think now in my mid-20s, I do attract black guys. So it's not I know they don't like me. I know that they do, some do. But
so the sister's talking about a feeling she saw. This was because of social campaigns and how black men might behave collectively in public. Some a few more than some, I should say. And this is something that we need to work on. We have to be aware of this kind of stuff. Certain things we say can resonate. Very important we learn and teach this. Mentioned mental health. Okay, cool.
It's not I don't know, the questions don't come up anymore as if it was when I was younger, because it was such a bigger thing where it was really anti-black women.
Okay, I can't lie about Raven. As a younger man, my preference was a non-factor. However, as I got older, I'm more skeptical. Skeptosexual. It's where you the irony. It's where someone is attracted to someone's intelligence, whatever. I can't even say it. So obviously I failed that. Whatever. So good point. But once again, it is necessary for black women not to feel that black men don't find them attractive. I mean, if that's the case, obviously there's a history in it. The history of anti-black racism and white supremacy and colorism and all this other kind of stuff going on. But we need to have these open dialogues and solutions based on them, and we have to have words and lifestyles that mean something and hashtags that mean something. So we have people have safe spaces and all that good stuff. Carry on playing. We've got a few minutes, and we're gonna skip ship.
Still a bit.
But we are listening, and we definitely want to have a panel of women like here on this show discussing similar stuff, so we can listen and then have the men to go the following week, and then maybe as time goes by, have them together and have a kind of way of constructive back and forth and all that good stuff.
Today, but now.
If you're a woman, tell your woman friends to listen to, because we're trying to work out solutions for Black women. So if you feel that Black men ain't listening, there are Black men here listening. So let's go.
It's not as much, but that is still in the back of my head. Like, am I But I understand where you're coming from right now.
Yeah. I asked because, again, what I see on social media and again in Clubhouse rooms most recently, where people talk about their experiences, there was a very dark time on social media, but particularly Twitter. Thankfully, I wasn't on Twitter during that time, but you hear people talk about it and how it was just like this onslaught of Black women, dark-skinned Black women, constantly sort of being, I guess, the joke, and it was kind of like acceptable, and it was almost like they went through this rite of passage that you just went through this phase, and then you suddenly realize that actually it was wrong, or actually it's now no longer acceptable to do it. So my feeling is what kind of effect has that had on Black women growing up, being on social media, seeing how Black women are treated, and then you get to a particular age. Are you wanting to now settle down with Black men? Do you feel your community, do they make you feel pretty? Do they make you feel beautiful? And then there's this whole, divest movement, which I don't want to particularly get too deep into, where it's almost like, free yourself, get yourself a white king, and then there's that whole movement which sort of puts, white men on a pedestal, which in itself is also a problem.
Are you a Black woman who puts white men on a pedestal? We're interested to pick your brain. I understand much pain might have sent you there, or maybe you just have preference. It's very necessary for us to talk about it. What we don't want to have here is people who feel they can't speak, and we definitely want to list everyone out. So I'm definitely for the UK divestment community, but also international as well. You're welcome. But it's just because I understand that it is in the UK as well, and that women know there is a platform to speak. But if you are a divester, you have challenges with Black men, and you feel that your best solution is outside the Black community, feel free to jump on a live when I send in the link. Personally, I'm not insecure regarding how these issues of colours impact as a dark-skinned Black woman. I think social media is becoming self-fulfilling prophecy and distracted. Personally, I'm not okay. Insecurities. So there is a Black sister here, or a dark-skinned sister, I should say, who has no insecurities about that. And like I said, perhaps you're someone who let me actually change that so we can read it. Perhaps you're someone who's you were raised in a certain community or a certain mindset where these things don't necessarily affect you. You don't believe the lies that people push, but unfortunately there are some people where if you keep telling a lie many times to them, they might just start believing it to be true, especially if it's coming from a people group who look just like you. One of the challenges we face with colorism, and more so from dark-skinned men, in the sense of like, if a dark-skinned man doesn't find a dark-skinned woman attractive, then this is almost the down definition of self-hate. And I don't know if men review it that way. This is the problem. Diversity movement puts pressure on Black men to do better and treat Black women like queens. Yes, I would argue yes, but then I would definitely have a conversation to make sure, because the problem when we say diverse communities is I can't really focus them, because before there was a diverse community, there was a Black man highly practicing miscegenation and highly looking for their life to be concluded outside the community. And what alarm's going off? Have I someone off the link? Let me turn this off. Hold on. All right. Vibrate. Wow. Okay, what I was saying. Yeah, so before we deal with the diverse community, we have to deal with the high levels of miscegenation that Black men do. And it isn't necessarily the miscegenation that I can really tackle. It's more so how we communicate about it, how we have so-called preferences, how we highlight on our social media. And obviously, just to review that, I think most men are territorial and this kind of stuff, but it seems like they don't know how to be territorial and don't know how to bat for their own team. I think Black pride and Black promotion is a very important thing, and I feel that if you can, if a Black person is undermining the very nature of Blackness, then obviously clearly something's wrong. But we know that, hence why we have the show. What's next? You're right. We just asked if as Mrs. if I can make her feel wanted and desired. She said yes. I followed up with cool. How can I get in the kitchen? I think I'm sleeping on the sofa tonight. Right. Okay. Jokes on that. Yeah. Well, and here's what it is. We're always gonna have good men here and there, and generally that's normal, right? We generally want to get the collective feeling of people, and also you it's possible for a woman to have a very great black man, but she can still understand that there might not be that many in a certain community in a certain place of the world, and that's the cause of concern. That's the one we're going to try to address. I think we need to focus and go next one. I think we need to focus on black men and black women who want to invest, build, and grow. Very true. We do need to focus on black men and black women who want to invest, build, and grow, but we have to recognize what might be happening in our community that might be causing women and men not to do that. But yes, you are right. And part of the philosophy I push forward is it will be a short amount of people in the black community who form fellowship groups who then, infiltrate and start their own industries and stuff to actually just, create a better narrative and a better direction for black people overall. So that's just what it is. But yes, you are right. A small number. I think we need. Okay, what's the next one? No point wasting time on. Okay, yep. Yeah, you're right. I hear that. So what we're going to do, we're now going to press. There's 1 more minute of this conclusion. Then I'm going to go to the next.
But you do see it a lot, and we have seen the trend on YouTube where interracial relationships are, always trending. People are always sort of obsessed with that type of content. So yeah, I've always wondered whether that has had like a long-term effect on how black women feel about being with a black man, being with a black man.
I think what Mona said earlier, it's really funny because when you first said it, I was listening and I was thinking, oh, this is really interesting. And then I realized actually I felt that way, but it wasn't something that was conscious. So I did have that, in the back of my head, sometimes I would be, in say a mixed setting and think, oh, I don't even know if he likes black women, he probably doesn't, and I wouldn't really take it anyway negatively, but it is in the back of my mind sometimes. It still is today, which is interesting because I hadn't noticed it. I would say in terms of the situation with black men, I don't particularly have, like negativity or intense sort of hatred or anything like that for black men. I don't feel hard done by or anything. I would say that, however, with certain types of black men, I can just say, you're not my people. Do you know what I mean? I just know.
Very good point there. Some people behave in the way you just want to disassociate. Now we're going to move on. I know some of you might want to hear, but you can go to their show, and hopefully the wonderful women on this show can come on this platform, as well as women from this platform, and we can actually set very similar topics around us to find solutions. We don't even have a bloody army of our own global news outlets, schools. Yep. It's enough. I'm glad you said that. And the reason we don't is, unfortunately, black men have different agendas, and black men are not building. These are the facts. So we're going to go back to where we're going. We're going to start my case study at the moment. So that's my point. Okay, cool. We're going to go to a case study at the moment. So I hope you guys can see the screen. If not, I shall explain. So the case study. Okay, yeah. 2 things to think about: the pattern practices to be aware of, and that's benefit begging and amnesty awarding. All right. So let me break down those 2 things. So benefit begging, I shall come back to, but these 2 words that I'm pushing forward here is what I'm seeing and something I want to focus on. And how we're going to do that is we're going to have a case study of the brother Patrick Hutchinson. For those who don't know, brother, very, very cool, kind brother, very kind when you realize. But the reason we're going to use him as a case study, I've been meaning to do this a couple of weeks back, but I've been snowed under doing other stuff. But we're going to start the process of reviewing brother. And remember, I'm not studying Patrick Hutchinson. More so him. It's more so the reaction to him, and also the mindset that makes this behavior pattern make sense. I reached out to the brother earlier today. We chopped up a bit. He might be listening, he might not be, who knows. But he's always welcome to come on the show. Hopefully he doesn't have to jump in on the free link. He can actually have a show to himself. But we're going to review. So those who don't know, there was a, what do you call it? There was a protest before about statues and these kinds of things. And obviously there was the EDL and some other people who wanted to have the statues up, and they were threatening to have people who were trying to turn it down. And there were so-called Black Lives Matter protesters there, and and some other groups who are there either defending black people or just having their say. Anyway, fights broke out in the night. And then when fights broke out, brother Patrick came in and he realized one of the alleged EDL members who was fighting as slightly drunk, as most of them were allegedly, was taking more than his fair share of knocks at the day, and he tumbled. Then the brother picked him up, and then this kind of pick up and get into safety to the police is then became a historical moment. We are in a fantastic situation. We are here and we link up with other black diaspora and build things back home. This is what I want to cinemate. Good for them. Outside of our cool. Yeah. So when you look at this, what we're going to break down here is, and I've said it before, there are many other black people there to protect the women and children from being attacked. But the Europeans and the non-black people won't necessarily focus on them. What they're actually focusing on was a racist individual who was trying to attack black people and was beaten and then saved by a black man. Now, this particular black man, wonderful person, but we go to the next page. Through this act of actually saving a racist from being beaten up or attacked or defended from the black world, many opportunities came to this brother. Now, I want every single black person in the world, I would like them to have unlimited opportunities from every single corner of the earth. And any way you can get what you're going to get, shame on me for undermining, and I want you to take every opportunity to the fullest. But this is more a case study exercise to train black people of how things unfold and compare like for like. And you realize that when a person protects racists from black people, they will be given awards. They'll be invited to magazines. There'll be statues made of it. Now, this statue is interesting. I think it was a fan of his or something like that. But the fan decided to put himself on his shoulder as well. Maybe it was some kind of vain thing, because that's not actually the man there. And obviously books come out, and then you talk to Al Sharpton, and then the Prince. I don't know if this individual is still the Prince at the moment. I don't know if they've taken it back, but he's of some kind of value. And obviously ITV or GMTV, I forgot what it's called. It was a kid, I remember the names, but these kind of shows, right? This is what is promised to the black people who actually go out of their way to protect non-black people who actually are the aggressors. And this is a learned behavior, and this is a cultural thing. And I would love to talk to more black people who do this. And what we're going to do now, this is the case study. And this is not to knock brother, because, we want him to do really well, but we have to learn. And so what we're going to do, we're going to look at some videos of the brother himself, but also of the practice. And the reason why I'm going is because it does actually tie into black men collectively being, collectively adequate, this kind of stuff. But just bear with me. It always comes through at the end. You'll see, it's always linked. But it just sometimes you have to go through the stages. All right. So first one we're going to look at is what we're going to look at. We're going to look at in the States where a similar behavior pattern was practiced. So let's go there. Rewind.
One question.
Boom,
What would you
boom,
do if you were face to face with hatred? Would you yell? Would you punch? For Aaron Courtney, a high school football coach from Gainesville, Florida, the answer was hug. Courtney was on his way out from a protest against white nationalist Richard Spencer's speech at University of Florida when he spotted his chance to confront someone who hates his very existence. He just had one question.
You don't like me?
But Randy Furness, a neo-Nazi skinhead, didn't have an answer. Instead, he stared. I could have hit him. I could have hurt him, Courtney told the New York Daily News. But something in me said, you know what? He just needs love. That's when Courtney, taking his father's teaching as a bishop at heart, offered Furness a hug. And finally, he got an answer. I don't know.
All right, so all this stuff was very good, very, movie, music, and all that good stuff, whatever. But this is the problem with black people generally. When I start the show and say black people are collectively inadequate, there's obviously a history of torment and stuff. And rather than focus on building and doing for self and protecting the women and children from hate, there is a need to want to be acknowledged. And I've seen it many times. And within this individual here, this black man. He wasn't best pleased that a white person hates him, and wants to hug him. And when you look back at the eyes tells it all really. Let's go back. If you can actually see it, where you smile. It's the eyes there. If you look at the eyes,
It's love. That's when.
Look at the eyes. He really, both of them. The white people are nonchalant in their own kind of way, whatever. But the black people, they really want
Courtney, taking his father's teaching as a bishop at heart.
Obviously, they're using the whole Christian religious thing as a reason to want to hug your people who want to kill you.
Offered Furness a hug, and finally he got in.
Yeah, see, too much energy is given on hugging people. There needs to be more energy on building and protecting this kind of stuff. But this is the behavioral pattern I'm seeing across the world. I'm seeing it a lot, and it's something we need to really review.
Answer: I don't know. It's a gesture that a former white supremacist recommends as more effective than a punch, and Samantha Bee recently even dedicated a whole tongue-in-cheek segment to it.
I would imagine in the history of the world, nobody's changed their opinion because they got punched in the face, because it now makes them the victim.
So this concept of trying to change someone's opinion, put it on the back burner, make it a tertiary kind of goal. Your goal is to fix your own community and not necessarily worry about why someone doesn't like your skin tone or your lineage or whatever it might be, or your hairstyle. The problem is the multinational companies have already patterned the corrupted leaders. By extension, the resource. I don't see what. Wow, that might be a conversation going in the group. Cool.
So, hug a Nazi.
Christian Piccolino now runs Life After Hate, a counter-radicalization group, and says that the key to reaching and reforming white supremacists is understanding.
Right, so remember, when it comes to reaching people who hate black people, leave that up to the non-black person to do. It's not your business. You're better off trying to fix your community, protect your women, build industries, that kind of stuff. You don't need to waste any energy hugging and understanding people who hate black people. It is an inadequate way of thinking, and only black people do that. Forgiving and wanting a hug is the one who wants to suffer and your children forever is the reason we are still in this mess. You thank you very much, very true. And this is something that hopefully I can demonstrate. And this is why I was trying to use brother Patrick as an example. Wonderful brother. But I'm seeing correlation between this behavior and many others. I'm just carrying this to the
best way to destroy
We're trying
hate.
to use strong language if we can in the forum family. We want to make sure we use descriptive language and not derogative language if possible. I know it's hard, but discipline is a value.
Is with love.
I'm sorry. You said what now?
Daryl Davis, a blues musician from Chicago, has employed love and understanding as tools in dismantling hate. Over the last 30 years, 200 Ku Klux Klan members have given up their robes as a result of their friendship with Davis.
If you spend 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, with your arch enemy, you will find that you have something in common with him or her.
But many don't agree with Davis.
Once again, I don't understand, priorities. That might be 100% true, but there are priorities in the black community, and those who are at the very bottom don't necessarily need to think about how their enemies are thinking of them and all this kind of stuff, but let's listen on.
In a sit-down with 2 Black Lives Matter activists in his documentary Accidental Courtesy, he tries to explain his approach.
We all have to live in this country together, okay? We do. Otherwise, we're gonna end up self-destructing.
Instead of spending time collecting the history of hate, why not spend that time trying to collect the history that was stolen from us?
Critics of Davis and
So Brad was saying, well, you focus inward. I agree.
those trying to fight hate with
What's going on there?
hugs ask, why must the burden of being the bigger person continuously fall on the oppressed?
Yep, that's an adequate way of thinking. To think that the oppressed are the ones who always have to be the bigger person, and that is why my conclusion comes early there. But when you see brother Patrick there, the amount of accolades he's got, this is correlated with the psychology of that. But let's move on.
And specifically on people of color. And while the concept of hugging the racism out of a person is attractive, the reality is that doing so puts yourself at risk when facing someone whose entire ideology is at odds with your safety. It's a question that separated schools of thought in the civil rights movement too. Malcolm X urged for equality by any means necessary, while Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. preached about the weapon of love. If we are arrested every day, if we are exploited every day, if we are trampled over every day, don't ever let anyone pull you so low as to hate them. We must use the weapon of love. We must have compassion and understanding for those who hate us.
So I'm not going to disagree or agree with what brother Martin Luther King said, but what I would say that I tend to use is whenever you have people who hate the black community, rather than hate them, make that intentional love and commitment to black people. And you're surprised you'll have so much more energy for black people. You'll have unlimited. If we all did that, there'll be unlimited power.
We must realize that so many people are taught to hate us that they're not totally responsible for their hate. But we stand in life at midnight. We are always on the threshold of a new dawn. There's no manual for how to erase hate and intolerance. What is the right way to approach it now?
Not hugging them definitely is not how we should be starting.
Is there one? But if there were a chance,
It's a subservient way of thinking, and it's also, we have priorities that we're not dealing with.
could somehow open someone's eyes to a new perspective.
All right, so now what we're going to do now, that's the American. So this is, and there's thousands of videos of similar black people behaving this kind of way. So we could be here all day. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to Brother Patrick, and what we're going to do, we're going to look at. Let's look. There was something. What's this one? Hold on.
You're no good at that. Do it like this.
Reverse. This is Brother Patrick in his own words talking about what happened.
You don't think about danger or anything like that when you're in a situation like that. You just get on with it. I'm glad we did. I don't regret doing it, and I would do it again. You know. Yeah, we've got to be out here leading by example. We want a better world. We've got to lead. Set.
What makes a good coach?
It's a good question. There's not one single answer to that, I would say. But in my opinion, trying to not overcoach the athletes, I'd say would be one thing. Trying to encourage and not criticize. Any corrections, you start off with a positive as opposed to just telling them, you're no good at that, do it like this, So I always start off with a bit of encouragement before I critique anyone's technique.
That's excellent.
Push the opponents back. Right, one more each, guys, then we'll put our spikes on. Have a very good...
So seeing Brother Patrick here doing community work, and he's obviously very gym oriented, which is very good. This is stuff we can learn from, brother. This is a very important behavioral pattern he has, very important. So well done to the brother.
Personal relationship with all the athletes that I coach. Have a bit of fun with them at the same time. But, when it's time to work, we work hard. We train hard. And part of the reason why I like to sort of coach in that manner is a lot of it comes from my upbringing and all the things that I missed as a young child, not having my father around to do various things with me and trying to do all those things, just to make up for what I never had.
He doesn't just limit the coaching role to the actual training, so outside of athletics, he's also there for you as well. Like me specifically, when I was training, he used to drop me home, make sure I got to training on time. Even if I was having a session and he could see I was...
So it's over there showing the good work the brother does. So we can skip this a bit, but it's all good stuff. 10 points and all good stuff. Where are we now? Training, good man, keeping training. We want to do that. And I think now we're going to move to what happened on the actual day and the mindset. But all the stuff before, fantastic football. Melodramatic, film to black, consent. June the 30th, 2020, Patrick attended the anti-racist protest in London. Okay. So there was a tension between...
We just sorted out an altercation over here, saw the top of the stairs, there was something going on, and then when we looked, there was a bit of fighting going on between the EDL far-right guys and some of the protesters. You see the EDL guys run off, and then one guy was left.
So very good point from Diamond. Our own success isn't recognized by black people, let alone white people. Anything that black people do collectively that's good or successful, we must try to highlight as something to learn from and to show that it is there. But right now, when it comes to building, black people are quite a few steps behind, and this is what we need to focus on. But let's carry on this to the video. Voila.
By the time we got over there, because remember, there's a lot of people as well, so you're sort of getting through the crowd, aren't you? You'd gone from halfway down the stairs to the bottom of the stairs, and they were sort of just holding off, and then I was the last one to sort of get there, and I just decided to pick him up. It makes no sense just staying here trying to protect him because we're going to be outnumbered very soon. And we carried him from here.
Notice the Freudian slip, they said we're going to be outnumbered. I don't know if that includes that he felt he had some kind of camaraderie with the brother. Probably not, but just me reading too much as I always do. But just a notice.
To the police who were just after these bollards.
Okay, picture there. Look at the eyes. The eyes, they're all very shocking, very shocking.
There was a lot of frustrated and angry young people, and they were looking for someone at the time to take their frustrations out on. And this guy was going to be that person.
As far as I was aware, he was actually fighting, but could be wrong. He was there, so he can discern. We have not been able to show who we are and what we can do till today. We can't live to our potential nowhere on this planet, and this will not change till we are ruling the planet again. Well, like I said, I think if we can get some kind of code, unity, and dedication, then you will see progression. And I feel that we're not doing that. So that's why we need to have codes, communities, fellowships, brotherhoods, sisterhoods dedicated to Black betterment. Black people helping Black people on Black issues as a lifestyle. It works for the vegans, it can work for Black people.
We were here on the day as older, wiser heads. You know, we knew that some of our young, volatile protesters would be here. They weren't going to be backing down. And I remember I was young once and I would have still turned up. In a herd mentality, you can just follow the crowd and end up doing things that you regret later on. So we knew this was going to happen, so we've made sure we were here to oversee things as older.
So what's interesting about all these documentaries, they never talk about the actual man. I think they said he might have been a cop before, you know, ex-racist, this kind of stuff like that. I don't know, whatever. And that's the thing. At no point has I ever heard from this gentleman who's been saved that done any of the fighting. The emphasis is the symbolism of a Black man saving a white man from Black people who were being beat for racist reasons, right? And that seems to be how, you know, things are, you know, the story's been told. Something we have to really be aware of. You see it
wiser men of the community. I treat people the way I want to be treated, and I try and be, you know, the type of coach that I wish was saying to my children at the time.
Cool.
And he's been
the other thing, I want to give the brother props for one thing he did in this quick thing of this was the next thing they introduced him, and this is something he did that I have to say well done.
Know this.
Right. So he won an award, well done for that, for protecting the white guy. And but it's how he started, which I thought was very interesting. Let's see. You won a humanitarian patch, so man of the year, humanitarian of the year.
We were at a spot called Eat of Eden, and
there, do you get that? He was describing what happened, and he mentioned a Black-owned business, and that's good. So let's provide a quick see if we catch it. Hold on. Let's listen.
We were at a spot called Eat of Eden, and then my sister Pauline messaged me.
So regardless of what you might think about his actions, the man rigged up a Black business on his national kind of presentation things. 10 points for the brother there, and that's a real genius, guys. Now what we're gonna do, I'm not gonna go through all this. He's explaining, you know, love and that good stuff and good camera work and all that good stuff. But he won the award, I believe. Now what we're gonna do is next thing we look at is it's only 1 minute clip. I just want to listen to what he says in this 1 minute clip.
Schools, I think a lot of corporations, schools, you name it, they have to now look at themselves and think to themselves, okay, the top jobs in this firm, you know, who holds them? You know, are there any, you know, I worked in the corporate world for 25 years almost. I was working in IT for investment banks across the city. So I do know a little bit about this world. And in my 25 years, I remember 2 Black senior managers and 1 Asian senior manager, and no board members in the whole 25 years that I've worked across a number of investment banks. So I'd like to think that, you know, all of these companies now and institutions will start to consider and look at, you know, the numbers and realize how unfair it is and do something about it. So I'm going to say, yes, I think things are changing and they're going to change for the better.
All right. So the reason I played that is there's the brother there giving a speech somewhere, Wimbledon looks like. And for me, this is the era of the Black person altogether. It's looking at European-owned institutions and their board level and the hiring practices and going, you know, hire me. And I think when we go back to what I was last saying, this is the benefit begging. You see, and it might sound like a strong term, but really, Black people need to build. You see, build our own, and that's why whenever you get objections to Black people coming together, you shan't do that. Kumbaya, all this kind of stuff. The fact that the brother's saying he's worked in the industry I've worked in for 25 years and saw no difference is telling. I'm saying rather than going to non-Black people to actually give you a job, as a man, you want to be building those industries. You want to be finding other Black men and building industries. You want to be training your children to have very good skills to actually inherit this stuff. Just think like bosses, really. So the benefit begging is something we need to definitely not be doing. And so that is the benefit begging. And what we did see before with the whole brother winning the award, I would label that as amnesty awarding. So you award someone for like for being attacked and not actually attacking back. And that's something to, I'm not saying she's going harming people, but there's a psychological training for that and what's happening. So we need to review that very much. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to America and see how they viewed it, because it's across the pond, all that good stuff. Let's see what they said. Let's see the direction. Hold on.
Protester carrying a white man to safety is going viral on social media at the moment. This all happened.
If this is this might be Australia, America, CNN, who knows? I don't know.
During clashes on Saturday between Black Lives Matter demonstrators and far-right groups in London. Patrick Hutchinson says he picked the man up after noticing he was injured and carried him to police nearby to keep him safe. For more on this pretty unforgettable image, I'm joined by CNN's Salma Abdulaziz at London's Waterloo Station, where these clashes broke out on Saturday. Really is an amazing image. Tell us more about the man and his motives.
That's exactly right, Michael. And those steps just behind me there is actually where this
I'll be giving that a link, see if people jump in if you want. Just into this last video, we'll move on.
whole scene unfolded. There were right-wing demonstrators clashing with supporters of the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, the Black Lives Matter movement has actually canceled demonstrations for the weekend, but Patrick Hutchinson says he knew that there would be young supporters of the movement that would come out, that they could potentially get into trouble, and that he wanted to act as a peacekeeper. Take a look at our interview.
Is this you in the photograph?
Yes, that is me in that photograph.
Can you describe to me what's happening in this picture?
My friends and I sort of had put a cordon around this man. He was sort of on the stairs, lying in the fetal position, with anything was about to happen to him. The first time I saw him was when I sort of climbed underneath him to go and pick him up.
And you could have looked at this man and thought, he is my enemy. Why did you choose to help him?
There was a particular thought that I had that, you have to show.
Very good point there. Some people look at this man as your enemy, but why'd you help him? She wants to know why.
Some sort of, love for your fellow man, okay, regardless. Because I was saying that if the other 3 officers that were present when George Floyd was unfortunately murdered, if just one of them had stepped in and stopped, their fellow officer from doing what he did, he'd be alive today.
But they didn't.
And you put him on your shoulder, you carried him over to the police, then what happens?
I'm carrying him, my friends are surrounding me, protecting myself and the man on my shoulder.
Interesting behavior pattern?
He was, still sort of receiving blows. You could sort of feel people trying to hit him. Carried him over to the police, and
this man who he saved is yet to actually do anything to do with say thanks. But I could be wrong. If that's the case, let them come and say something.
I said, here you are. And one of the police officers said, thank you. You did a good thing there, man.
What do you want people to take away when they look at that picture?
I think hopefully they'll take away breaking down the race barriers and realise and see that we're all one people, that we're all one race.
That should not be the focus of black people. Once again, I think they mentioned before, it seems to be the most downtrodden who wants to be using these philosophies. We're all one people, that kind of stuff. Focus on black building, black betterment. That's a much more important thing to focus on. But as you know, the non-black media will always promote this kind of passive, I'm going to save you no matter what mentality. So just please be aware of this, family. Priorities must come first.
And this is what's so extraordinary about the Black Lives Matter movement, Michael. It doesn't have one address. It doesn't have one leader. It's not a monolith. It's how you interpret the idea. And for Patrick, interpreting that idea meant coming out on Saturday, even though he'd never attended any of the demonstrations.
Interesting.
Coming out on Saturday, trying to keep the peace between these two viciously opposed groups and helping a man who could have potentially held prejudices against
No, he most certainly did. He had much prejudice towards them. That's why he was fighting them.
him, although he did not know who that man is. And
Save the man. He didn't know who he was. Interesting.
he remains unidentified. And as you heard there,
He remains unidentified.
Patrick's hope is that, yes, in that moment he acted on instinct, but that
Instinct. So this is what we're saying. Train our instinct to maybe work in our best interest is a good technique moving forward. But once again, people might have their own opinions, and they're always welcome to have their say.
there is a message in that, and that everyone is equal, everyone is human.
Everyone is equal. Everyone's human. This is the kumbaya kind of stuff. This is stuff that we don't need to worry with. Everyone's not equal. Black people are not equal to anyone else. Black people are struggling at the bottom and are collectively inadequate, and that is why there must be dedicated structure in fixing that. So this is beautiful quotes, and you know the spiritual inside everyone's equal stuff. But this doesn't benefit black people, and let's remember that.
And he says he hopes that that man he has rescued might see that picture.
No, he won't.
And think that way as well.
He won't do that.
Michael.
Would
hope is the first step on the road to disappointment. Now, let's we're gonna switch back to the thing. There we go. Voila. Let's go back to we'll go back to here. Are black men's actions pushing black women away? Which three negative perceptions should black men try to fix first? Now, what I've done, family, is I've pushed a link out there. We're joined by Brother Kel. Welcome, Brother Kel. How's it going?
How you doing, Brother Raven? Not too bad.
I'm glad. Brother Kel is a great contributor to the Black Man Broadcast. His wisdom is always needed, and he has good balance to the shows. But even though he's here, we still have space for many more. So if you're any person out there who wishes to speak on the topic, or you've seen some video or some stuff here that you wish to speak on, by always jump in. Now, we have mixed topics. We obviously have the topic of, the cuties and the Dave Chappelle cancellation. That's an but a comparison we drew there. We also talked about black men and how black women feel about them, and three negative things we want to get rid of. And then we also had what's the brother? Brother Patrick Hutchinson's heroism, and what that means to black people collectively, and why non-black people love black men or women, but both, to be fair, who protect non-black people even when they are harming black people. Why is that valuable? So we're here, Brother Kel. Would you like to talk about anything? You are the guest, so you get the choice. Would you like to talk about anything, Brother
Kel? The black men's actions needs to be unpacked. I know you've unpacked it already, so I'm presuming you want to hear a different analogy.
Yeah, definitely.
Brother, the first thing it has to be the economics, brother, because we could solve. We could use psychology and help each other out and be kind to one another. But then when we go out of our houses, we're facing unethical code of conduct in the work environment, which needs to be passed on to provide for your family. So it's like focus on the economics first, and then perhaps fix the relationship would be more better.
Very good point there, brother. Very good point there. One thing, we showed the video, I don't know if you joined at a certain time, where Brother Patrick was talking about he works in a particular industry, and for 25 years they were dedicated to not hiring black people, it seemed. And I think I was using this as a way to emphasize why the emphasis should not be on asking non-black people for work, but for black people to build and do their own economics. And that's why I was using the term benefit begging. We want to maybe minimize that and more do about, building, economics. So I think me and Brother Kel might be on the same page on that particular one. We looked at an extract from The Voice, and the three things that one man actually said, funny enough, was reported lack of maturity, to drive to have successful careers. So I think that that might correlate also with economics and building.
Yeah, brother, because brother, the Patrick Hutchinson is a very tricky case. It's very, very tricky, and I'll explain why. Because politically, brother, political science, you have to understand your adversary. I mean, Sun Tzu said it best. If a general is going to go against another army and he knows half of himself, but knows a little bit of the army, then he'll face many defeats and a couple wins. It says that if the general doesn't know himself and doesn't know the other army, he's lost the battle and lost the war. But he also says that if the general knows himself and knows the enemies, then he can win 1,000 wars. the protesting, brother, there's different levels of protesting and there's different curriculums. Majority of the time, it's emotion. There's nothing to go into it, and there's no revolution into it. So that's why, for example, with his case, it's very tricky because on one hand, he's all seen emotions, right? So he's just trying to tackle the emotional part of it. With that being said, a lot of us don't understand political science, how a protest is supposed to be, activism. Is it going to lead to change? Is it going to lead to a revolution? We don't understand that. So when you're looking at the protest, although yes, it is definitely, as you would say, my brother, error prone, what he did, right? But at the same time, the mindset of strategizing needs to have a political scientific way. We are not politically scientific. So whenever you see any movement and protesting, right, it's based upon emotion. You remember when I said before, brother, that all non-African people practice unethical code of conduct with the face expression, the mannerism, the behavior and the characteristics. Now, the bigot and the non-bigot, although they know what they're doing, but they channel their ideology in a different way to confuse African people. Do you understand? You could love the bigot, but it still has the political, scientific, unethical code of conduct to defranchise black people. That's why I'm saying that we have to understand the political science towards the protesting, which I can understand why brother Patrick, although it's error prone, which led for him to do that particular deed because it's based upon emotion. If it had left that you know, bad European man, right, what would have happened was it would have been like everyone trampled on him. There was no change, no revolution made. So in one sense, it did the correct thing in that emotional state, but at the same time, it was not organized. That's my point on political science.
Nice point to bring. Yeah, yeah. Understanding, having a purpose before actions and not being emotionally led. This is truth. And well, let's just for because the brother Patrick might be listening to the show. Who knows? Maybe a friend sport of his. We're not necessarily ever critiquing black people here on a negative level. We are more so talking about how things might be used and how things are perceived, and we are showing that in many of the people at this particular march, I interact with them. I've met them. They've spoken to me on certain things, and none of them would be on TV because they didn't do the same act. But if you do a similar act, you will be rewarded, and this is the thing. It's understanding the science. Now, take your awards, take all the accolades you can that you should if you got opportunity so far. But understand the scientific game that's being played. And to be honest with you, the way things work out from non-black people, I'm not even necessarily saying these are deliberate acts. I say that it's so codified and so cultural that it's automatic. You automatically reward a black man for protecting white racists from being beaten, as in white aggressive racist people who are trying to harm black people from being beaten. It's almost automatic. But this is something that we have to do. And by all means, people are welcome to jump on the show and give their opinions on it. Go ahead, brother Kelvin. You want to say something?
Right. Imagine this now, right? Imagine if you had different types of political scientific Africans, right? Got the ones who know how to appear to, engage in emotional protesting, but at the same time, know how to strategize so it doesn't look like we're all the same, if that makes any sense, right? Non-African people have that strategy. They can be a bigot and a non-bigot, and they're very organized. So that's what I'm saying, is that if we was organized, political scientific, right, what brother Patrick did, it wouldn't be a big deal, because what it would be was like a reward of diffusing the attention of of the political scientific Africans who know about racism, etc., away the attention from them when it comes to the non-African comes to sorry, the Africans who understand political science, but are using the strategy what Patrick did to confuse non-African people in thinking, well, all of them know political science, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, the thing is, the more we get organized, the more anything that comes along, we will have a collection of people who've preempted and are trained on, the motivation behind it. So it won't depacitate or do any of these kinds of stuff, any kind of ideas you've got going. But I think that's why I'm pushing very soon, because obviously the lifestyle of Black Betterment is the first kind of concept, like a complete lifestyle where people of African descent are looking out for people of African descent, this kind of stuff, and it's just the lifestyle, right? The next step for me to try to push in the structure is making fellowship groups where people come together of African descent, Black people come together, and literally just plan. You plan things you want to do, whether it's you want to start institutions, you want to get certain people in certain institutions, you want to send some people to certain places to learn certain things to come back, and you have goals. And the idea is for as many people as possible to make their own fellowships dedicated to helping Black people. So I'll be writing up this for a couple of weeks just to break down what I'm talking about. But we are at the age of the doing now, where it's like we have to start doing stuff. We can't keep on acknowledging that we're inadequate without necessarily having a strategy, a tangible strategy of how we're going to improve this. I think this is one of the problems we might face. Like Diamonds was saying in the group, some will be left behind, and that's okay because it's a smaller number that usually creates the environment for the masses. Most of the choices we make here today are decided by a few in a room who put out all kinds of outcomes. So I think we can actually try to do that on a micro level of making people who are dedicated. But how it correlates with what Brother Kel was saying is getting more people on a codified way of processing information and politicizing most of our movements, and also propaganda as well. Can we stop using the term Black? We are not Black. Doesn't place us in the landmass with Asia's actually placed. Thank you, Mark Williams. Just so you know, we must always have context here. It's very important. And that the Black, if you ever come on the Black Betterment Broadcast, you will see a star next to the word Black. You should see it everywhere. This means synonym. This can't pronounce it right. Synonymous with other words. So it could be synonymous with Black, African, Negro, Ethiop, Blackamoor, or any historical term that's been used to describe the sub-Saharan Africoid Aboriginal Black person. But like I said, I don't personally get caught up on the words. But when it comes to campaign and marketing, we can collectively decide what we're going to be called. But that is the reason why. So when you see the Black being said here, I want you to imagine synonyms, and I want you to imagine a big star at the end of the K, which shows a division and an understanding. Whatever. Also, we have to accept that not all of us are Black people. We'll get to the top. Only 5%. Yes. Me personally, I think Brother W.E. Du Bois talked about the talented 10th. Are we pushing the noble 9th? I understand that there is going to be a short amount of educated people who might have to create industry to help out the rest, and then those can learn from that. This is something that we have to be aware of. Hi, sis, do you mean the top of the current system? Sorry, I just read what they're saying. Yeah. So just so you know, Brother Mark Williams, let me take that off the thing now. I hope but brothers and sisters, just so you know, those who are new to the actual show, this show works on the community, and by all means, you can give your feedback in the actual group. But by all means, as long as you practice the 4D values, which you shall see on the screen very shortly, 4D values, you're always welcome to jump in, which is discipline, important, dedication, important, dignity, important, and discernment. We don't use colorless language here, so we try to make sure that the language is constructive and all that good stuff. But if you wish to join in and a discussion with myself and Brother Kel about today's topic, which is are Black men's actions pushing Black men away, and which three negative perceptions should Black men try to fix first? Let me just scroll down. I think I've got this right. This stuff is not working properly. Here we go. Voila. Yeah. So yeah, if you wish to join, by all means, just click and you can join. I think I've put the link in there. I haven't. Yeah. I want us all to be winners. Well, to be honest, sometimes you have to step backwards, step forward, and sometimes you have to have a dedicated group that does the legwork. You know, people join in at different stages, right? Right now, it might be easier for Black people to do nothing, or African people. It might be easier, and sometimes you have to create the industry or the expression. A perfect example is if you look at the 70s, a few people started the whole natural Afro kind of scene, and then it spread on, and then everyone wanted to have Afro, right? Well, that's that same kind of thing, you know. Unfortunately, many obviously there's a heavily influence from outside the community, but many people of African descent, Black people, spread certain behavioral patterns that isn't in Black people's collective best interest. And I think when the question was asked about 3 negative perceptions that Black men should try to fix, one of them was desire for some Black men to settle outside their race, and how that is emphasized politically and socially. The whole lusting for non-Black, lusting in general is a problem, but the whole lusting for non-Black women or Black men, whatever. But yeah, this kind of stuff needs to be reviewed. But yeah. So I'll place a link there. By all means, you're willing to join, but if not, it'll be me and Brother Kel chopping it up. Anything else, Brother Kel? Any observations you'd like to push forward?
Yeah, I think with the solution with the interracial relationships, right? It has to be a campaign, and you've done it before, but there's nothing wrong with bringing it back again.
Of course.
Speaking about generational wealth, I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and he was on that, you know, we should be able to be with whoever we want. And what I noticed that when I dropped the generational wealth, it stopped him in his tracks. It's almost as if like his realization came back, and he was like, well, this is happening. I think that needs to be more campaign, because there needs to be something to wake us up, and I don't think forcing us with or having these types of you should never go with them because this is going to happen. That's not going to work, brother. The generational wealth campaigning is going to wake people up, man.
I'm going to write that down and that is a very good thing to highlight. Here's some things I write down that might be very effective for the campaign. Highlighting generational wealth is one. Also, how that connects in the sense of you lead your children by example. So if you actually want to fix the Black community, whatever it is might be, once you start going outside the community and start procreating, that process can be repeated because obviously they're following from you. So you are essentially creating your replacement. And I think the examples I give in this particular show, very good examples, is the Native Indians and the Aboriginal brothers and sisters. When you look at who's actually inheriting most of the resources, and then when you look at who's actually the drunken people, having woes and sorrows, you see that the darker skinned Indians are the Aboriginal, and then the whites, pretty much white, white, damn near white or completely white, of those groups are the people who own the resources and get most of the benefits. And I can see that same practice happening here. But very, very true what Brother Carl was saying about the generational wealth. And that ties into that, the racial whitening. And I think I gave example. I consistently give examples. I think one I gave a few weeks back was this brother here. Yeah, Bruce Lee. You see, Bruce Lee, the pioneer of martial arts in movies, naturally came to America. Love has no color in his book apparently, and he married a European lady. I'm sure she was extremely nice, but this is between my business now. And then obviously he had 2 children. Unfortunately, his son died, but that similar thing has happened recently in some film. I think yesterday or today, some actor shot someone by mistake using a fake gun. So if you're an actor, be careful about these guns, please. But anyway, unfortunately, his son died, and he too was married to a European, and then his daughter was also married to a European, and then they have your offspring. The Asian gene is still fine on there, but generally, the people who control the asset, the financial wealth that Brother Bruce Lee done isn't his Asian family or Asian people. It is traditionally Europeans, there's just something. This is how generational wealth kind of works. There's also that concept that if you, one other thing what I'm doing as well is historically people used to ask questions, and I think that titles matter, and the title was the word black love and the word pro-black. And I think as a campaign, we need to really help not even redefine, but put padlocks on the concept of black love being black man and black woman. I know that this sounds silly now, but there are people pushing other concepts, which is a bit peculiar. And also this concept that a pro-black person can claim to be pro-black, the title, and not marry a black person. This is not acceptable. I think historically black people were always scared to talk about this because of the false sense of being called what they call racist, this kind of stuff. This is not correct behavior. What we have to recognize is black people are collectively inadequate. And here we go. Look, there's a black Aboriginal and a white Aboriginal. Just if you see the picture there. I was saying, and I think if I come down to in England our political party, I make this very same notion all the time. But all of our black politicians, all our black men politicians are all married to white women and one white man, because there's a guy who's same gender loving, whatever, but nevertheless still white. And this is what I'm saying about these patterns. Define black. What we're saying is here on the, just for those who are new, we are saying historically the people who were called Negroes by law, black, the people who were called Aboriginal African, black, the Blackamoors, the Ethiops, I'm just thinking of historical terms, all these terms and these people. But if you live in London, they call it the IC3s, descendants of sub-Saharan Africans, right? And Aboriginal peoples of black lands, right? That's what we call black. But for you, brother, we can remember when we say black, we are talking about African, Aboriginal African descent. You see, people, African, diaspora African, and people who are descended from that, who are obviously phenotypically or lineage based through the African diaspora.
Also, Brother Raven, and what made me remember this is that Brother Patrick looks like one of my Pan-Africanist heroes, the late Khalid Abdul Muhammad. But he also says the definition of black is culture, color, consciousness, and connection to creator. Why the color thing is because the universe before it was laid out, the creator created the darkness. When you're in the womb of your mother, it's darkness. Your heart has black in there. Majority of the planet, the melanin comprises of the darkness. So we recognize that the blackness has a significance, but at the same time, I do agree with Mark Williams, is that there's no black planet. So where there's resources backed up with minerals and culture, right, is the African planet. However, black is defined of those types of temperaments. So yes, we should call ourselves African, but we must recognize, as what Brother Raven says, the campaigning of those people who have the culture, the color, the connection to the creator as classed as black.
So I hope that makes sense to you. And by all means, Mark Williams and Diamonds, I've pushed the link out there. I'll push it one more time. By all means, I know you might be at work or you might be tending after family, so you might not necessarily want to be public speakers. But you're always welcome to jump in and ask questions. It might be easier. I've always said this: when it comes to mistreating black people, we know who they are. But when it comes to healing black people, people forget who they are, and this is the issue. But every single Pan-African movement understands these kind of concepts. But if you look at the screen now, you're seeing about second generation wealth, miscegenation, this kind of stuff, and also leadership and power. And there is a pattern where all people in the UK who are allegedly going to do something with black people all have European wives. This is something that we have to recognize, and we have to have campaigns to really address that. And yes, there will be certain situations where the joining mechanisms means you are tied to a black woman, a black man. Like you can only, because like I said, if you're trying to help black people and you don't know how to produce black people, African people, Aboriginal, whoever, right? Then the problem is, as time goes by, all the work you do, your second generation wealth will not be inherited by African people, black people, and this kind of stuff will happen. I did a documentary, no, I did a show a few weeks back about black Aboriginal people and their plight, and how the white so-called Aboriginal people are inheriting many of the benefits, and this goes on to Indians and then all over the world. And yeah, but like I said, if anyone wants to come and talk about black, white, all that kind of stuff, I have actually gone through the painstaking task of listing as many ethnic groups who are defined as black historically. And if people want to be very specific, I have all those terms, and I can bombard you with those in some kind of document, to which there are thousands of things. We try to be thorough here on the Betterment Broadcast. But yeah, so let's go back to our thing. Oh yeah, Black Love Campaign. So we're always practicing the Black Love Campaign, but part of fixing that is understanding that there are movements out there where black women are hurt through certain actions that some black men do, or a few black men do, and we have to recognize and give people a space to express themselves. And hopefully people understand that the Black Betterment Broadcast is that place. And so our women who do stuff, come along.
Brother Raven.
Yeah.
Would you say, brother, that if you used to ask the African woman and the African man, right, if they was to get a piece of paper and a pen,
yes,
and write down the values of what a relationship's supposed to be, you say that Pan-Africanism will be at the top of it?
No.
No. So that's why, brother, when I was watching that video which you presented very well, right, with those African queens on there,
yes,
and I understand that they had to be very diplomatic due to the contents and their audience, right? But neither one of them, all due respect to them, was thinking of a Pan-Africanist way in regards to I should be attracting a Pan-Africanist man.
Let me just pause you there. And the reason I pause you there is because I did actually. I'm going to put it on the screen for the people who listen.
From certain conversations.
Sorry. And if the women are watching, and all women are welcome to the show. We definitely will get a stronger female contribution to the show, hands down. I would say that this the sister at the bottom, I think at some point she was discussing. She's pro-black and she wants to, have a black man for these reasons, and she actually has very learned. So I believe out of all those sisters, there was only one who might have been of a pro-black Pan-African nature. I'm not going to say Pan-African, but I suspect the way she's talking, she might correlate with many of the ideals. But yes, carry on, bro. I'll just try to give you this more heads up. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but because as you always beautifully saying that it's about the collective thinking. There is individualists, but the collective. And what I've noticed, bro, is that yes, the black man does need to focus on the economics first. When Dr. Umar Johnson came to England, and I attended one of his lectures, and he made it very clear in regards to education and economics, man. They're like the mother and father, the solution for our problems. And unfortunately, brother, the values, if you look at a high value man and a high value woman, right, in regards to the non-Africans and that, they will never ever marry a non-high value person if they do not come from a monarchy or they do not have certain back. They will never ever go there. It's just not known, brother Raven. Do you understand? Whereas if you're gonna go with whoever because of, they appear to have that, then we're gonna get these problems. If we was to write down the values, brother, like what is the value of me being with this man or being with this woman? First of all, and that does the man come from a noble background, a revolutionary background, and making sure generational wealth? these are the things what the African queens need to sit down, because if they're not doing that and they're just saying, well, maybe if he has a little bit of consciousness, then I can work with it. No, is he coming from a background where it's systematically understanding generational wealth, and there is at least 2 generations of passing that down? She should be with that black man instead of the black men who don't do those things. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, the thing is, my agreement with you comes from so many different levels, in the sense of like, there are many stories of men and women who end up with the wrong partner, and there are certain like no. So obviously you've gone to the straight golden goose, so, you know, the gold medalist, isn't it? And for me, there's certain things like there's certain women I don't think should go for certain men. I think there is like a lifestyle kind of connection where certain people might actually like it hinder people from getting to certain points, right? So you have to be able to view that. But I definitely agree with you that, you know, the generational wealth and the Pan Africanism and the connection of Black Betterment, this all kind of stuff. This is a primary. But once again, we have to talk to the women to see what are they coming across, because some might argue, where do I find such men? I mean, obviously they're all over the place, but generally it is necessary to hear the opinions of the sisters, because they always give it in a very good perspective. That's why we push the link out there for sisters who want to join. But this is the thing. But once again, campaign needs to be started, and I appreciate the whole even the term generational wealth. Since that term has come along, it has made explaining to black men why it's necessary for you to pick a sister, why you shouldn't fall for the branding. Unfortunately, with when it comes to miscegenation, this kind of stuff, right? What we have to understand, and this is not to necessarily kick black men when they're down. Well, the non-black person has been very successful in marketing the so-called beauty and these kinds of things of their women, and they've also been very good at protecting their women from many things. I feel that to a certain extent, it's the failure of the black man to actually market as in like to present your feelings and safe security and this kind of stuff of your woman and you know, we could really, there's so many examples I give, but I won't give any now at the moment. But what I'm saying is, I feel that it is I think if black men are failing to be with black women, at a certain point, it is a black man, the African man, the black man, it is that shortcoming. It's something they're not doing. And if they are going for non-black women, they are essentially going for the branding and of the non-black man, i.e. the white man. Let's just use the white man example. You are tapping into what the white man has done, and you are seeing value there. And that, for me, is another part of inadequacy, and it is another case of black men not building and then jump into someone else's built kind of structure. Even though some will argue it's been stolen, this kind of stuff, blah, blah. But generally, that's how I see it.
And I totally agree with what you said, Brother Raven. Brother Raven, would you say, right, for the African queens right out there, would you say that before they even approach the African man, that they should have a list of criterias which they would like for the community to embark on the African man? I'll give you an example. You've got dating sites and things like that. And I'm not saying all women, but some of them, they will have a list of ideals which they would like in a man. One of them is wealth, success, charming, humbleness, humorous, etc., etc. However, would you say, right, that if the African woman has a list, right, of what she would like, meaning, first of all, Pan-Africanist mindset, generational wealth, and the community to orchestrate that, would you say that that should be the intention that she should be asking the community to help her with?
I definitely would, and I definitely think this is a conversation we should be having with black women. So by all means, if you women agree, just let us know in the comments. Just jump in. Yeah, I do agree, and I think maybe as a collective we can actually put down templates of Because people start and they don't know what they're looking for, maybe because it's the young and they haven't experienced. So maybe we could put guidelines of what you should be looking for in a man, and also what man should look for in a woman, but also what you need to be training yourself to be. You've got to think, what value do I add? What value do I add to this union? So I think that these are things for us to think about. Definitely, I agree, brother. Yes. Any questions in the forums? Let us know. We have 15 minutes. Is that 15? Looks like 15 minutes. I think so. Yeah, 15 minutes left. And Brother Kel, see you're here. So if you want, you can also ask questions or push any out as long as you want.
I saw a very interesting individual on the pitch, and it was Dave Chappelle. I was wondering what that image was about. Was it the controversial, or is it
Oh, you mean the first one? Oh yeah. Let me go. Let's go there. Hold on. Yeah. So what this was is I don't know if you have Netflix and this kind of stuff, but Dave Chappelle has made a comedy show where he addresses certain kind of comedy jokes, not jokes, but political behaviors of the LGBTQ community, and many of them were not best pleased by some of these jokes. I think he tried to say in there he's actually not transphobic and this kind of stuff, whatever. But he feels like there might be some kind of bullying going on from their community towards the black community. Anyway, the analogy I was bringing was when this show came out, many of the LGBT community started, and the Netflix people who worked in Netflix, the LGBT members, actually started protesting and leaving and quitting and this kind of stuff. And what I was showing was when Cuties came out and they had these kind of posters of young children doing things that is no one should. I don't necessarily think anyone should be doing this kind of stuff anyway, really, but especially children. I think what I was saying, there was no actual complaints, there was no riots, and I'm saying that the LGBTQ community might not be the best to know what's best for children, and I think this was the case that they don't identify with some of these problematic things. They might not say it's problematic at all, and that was why this picture was shown. And I think it's circulating in social media at the moment. Certain kind of people are talking about it. Why are you complaining about this particular thing, but this one goes unscathed of young children dancing around in an adult manner, which isn't necessary for children to do. If you still there? Oh, Brother Cal has been missed. Sorry, guys. I'm not married yet. No, I'm not married. So unless you're trying to find me a wife, definitely black, let me know. Define strong men. Define weak men. Is that a question? Oh, you guys are talking as usual. The forum, they talk amongst themselves. Brother Kel asked a question, but I'm sorry, Brother Kel has now gone. Perhaps his internet cut, or maybe he's at work. But what I would say is, if for those who want to know, I've got so much stuff on screen. For those who want to, anyone who wants to join the last 13 minutes, or any questions, preferably about this, but it's last 30 minutes. We can ask any questions. If anyone wants to continue hearing the videos, I can continue play this.
I'll come in, I'll walk into the room, I'll see what they're talking about, and I just think we're not in the same market. We're good. Like you are in your lane, I'm in mine, and I just know that we are.
Welcome back, Brother Cal. Welcome back. I don't know much if you heard of that, but what I was saying was the image you saw before was the inappropriate behavior of Netflix marketing team who put young women in an adult kind of seductive kind of dancing kind of campaign, and no one complained, but yet there was a complaint about Dave Chappelle's so-called LGBT jokes.
Yes. Very controversial, that is, isn't it? Very, very controversial. Yeah. I mean, they're supporting him now, aren't they? Netflix. They're supporting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I find it very interesting, I'm gonna get red flag for this, that we as a people have the money and time to support these Netflix and Amazon Prime, but then when it comes to our institutions, it will seem to be having a problem with doing that. It's very interesting, man. Netflix is getting wealthy, and the black community, unfortunately, is getting more lower. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, this is a pattern we see, and this is, I think, I think, unfortunately, we are always going to be starting at level one, and there will have to be a mass exodus between one particular subscription or product and a black home one. But then, there's so much to unpack, but it's like, what do we do to get those institutions going, and what do we need to have in them to make us support them? So we're saying that, I think we mentioned a few weeks back, they're black family run, they give back to the community, they're synchronized with many of the views and this kind of stuff. And then obviously, we can then fully go in and we can exodus from wherever we're paying our money over to them. But that would be the goal. It would be great if there was a black product, maybe black box or whatever you would call it, or who knows, or Afro box or whatever, who knows, right? And then, we could actually fund that and send everyone there, and then, build up that particular institution, that particular product. Would be good. Strong members in the point, stand up for the community. Okay, cool. Last 10 minutes, family. So any questions, let us know. Brother Kel?
Definitely, brother. There has to be, because I totally agree with you, the brilliant blueprint in regards to a black betterer and a black betterment, in regards to one who, unfortunately, as you said before, were categorized.
Let me jump in. So let me explain.
Campaign to reach them.
Yes, very good. And I think definitions matter. And what right now, I never coined the term pro-black, right? So whoever coined it will have to really define it. But what I do when I do talk is I say that it is impossible to claim the title pro-black and you are not seeking to be with a black partner. I think that should be part of it. And within the definition of black betterer, you have to be seeking to be with, if you are going to be in a partner for whatever reason, that partner has to be obviously black or African, right? It's just standard. But some people, for whatever reason, might not achieve that. There's an ancient general called Gannibal in Russia, and he was kidnapped from Cameroon, I believe. And maybe in his situation, he could not find a black woman. Who knows? Apparently, right? Whatever, right? But generally, if you do fall short of actually, and you do not marry a black person, then you will not be able to be called a black betterer. But we can call you a black betterment builder if you choose a particular institution to build in, dedicated to black people. We can still give you that title, but we cannot give you the title of black betterer. Just like a vegan cannot be called a vegan if they eat meat, and if they eat milk, then we can say, well, they're not vegan, but they're vegetarian. So there are other titles you can be called, but it's very important that titles matter, because it allows people to work this stuff. And unfortunately, one of the problems I observe in the black community, the African community, is a process known as benchmark rebranding, where we have a benchmark and then people come along and they just completely redefine that benchmark to something that's easily achieved or lazily achieved. And the benefits and necessity of why the benchmark was so high or even so naturally grounded then gets forgotten. And then you have like same gender loving people who are married to non-black people, running concepts that is anti family and all this kind of stuff, and then that becomes the benchmark, and all this kind of stuff. This basic structure seems to fall from us, so we kind of want to get those basic structures going. But yeah, that's what that is, brother. Carry on. Sorry,
Brother Raven, I just want one of the I think it's an African descendant, whether it is or not, it doesn't really matter. They were saying something to do with my views and points on dating. I will be blunt and real about it. I do not believe the African woman should be dating, let alone allowing her magical garden be trampled in by any man unless the community has checked him out, unless he has an intention and a consistent behavior of generational wealth as well as Pan-Africanism. You know, the black woman should be dating no black man who doesn't have those types of values. So that's my opinion as well as what I believe in. I've practiced that myself, and my wife has practiced that, and I believe that's a solution for the African queens and the African kings, that before any form of interracial or before any intercourse, that they should be sitting down, the community, and the community should be asking, do you understand generational wealth? Are you going to proceed in that? Do you have Pan-Africanist mindset? And do you mind if the community checks you now and again? That's the solution for the African queens if they really want to be in a great relationship.
And there was a breakdown there from Brother Carol there. Yeah, and I have to co-sign that. I think community-based reviews and protection, this is something that we've lost. And unfortunately, the reason why this might have broke down is because first you have the breakdown of the community, then the breakdown of the family, then no one is co-signing nothing. People can just come from anywhere and no guidance is given, and before you know it, no one is protected. And unfortunately, within the black community in certain areas, there has been that breakdown of family, and then there has been abuse, you see. And there's history of abuse. And I think we tried to tackle this a few weeks ago when we were talking about black women from the past who were abused, and they never had anyone to turn to because the whole family structure was taken down, the whole community structure was taken down, and predators could actually infiltrate. So we have to get back to the point of rebuilding. And yeah, it is a lot. I mean, when you think about the task that needs to be done, it is challenging. But I will be offering the solutions that I've penned down, and one solution I'm pushing forward is the concept of fellowships, and how black people can form their own fellowships dedicated to betterment. And within those fellowships, you can have your own rule set of how you want to govern it and how best to look out for each other. That's something that I'll be pushing forward soon, how to maintain that, how to have those independence. And yeah, but I think one thing you have to understand is this particular broadcast is dedicated to black women. That's black people helping black people with black issues, and hopefully we can codify, culturalize these concepts. And one of the goals, the great goal is to get all black people synchronized on these kinds of ideas, but the likelihood of that is going to happen. So it really is having a qualifist mindset, as in trying to get the most dedicated, the most learned, the most I don't know, whatever words comes down to achieving that. We cannot dishonor and admire at the same time. That's right. Well, we shouldn't be dishonoring anyone. Remember, even if we are critique of anyone, this is for obviously the people are talking in the group. We want to make sure that if we practice discipline, dedication, discernment, and dignity, this will help us. Brother Kel, would you like to offer any final kind of thoughts for the show?
Yeah, I was going to say that I believe that corresponds with amenicity, what you read down, what is begging and what is amenicity, in regards to if we do have a structured governmental principles, then we could allow certain things, with generational wealth. We have to be realistically, we will have some family members that may want to have more, and we have to overlook certain things due to circumstances. But if we have that amenicity, as what you says, as a government principle under Pan-Africanism, black betterment, then we can overlook certain things, not major things that will allow, disrupting of a relationship between the African man and the African woman. But I believe something can be overlooked, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, the way I look at African people and black people today is imagine you wake up one day, you're in a war trench, and you have a water gun, and then people are firing at you, and then you look in the trench and you see all other people. They're the same ethnic group as you, but they're all wearing different football kits, and they've all got water guns. So much is going on. You're thinking, why are people shooting at me? Can I shoot back? But you've got a water gun. And you're wondering, are these guys in the same trench as me? Are they actually my same kith and kin? They're all wearing different uniforms. And I feel that is the analogy of where black people find themselves in problematic. So there's so many things to unpack. Where are the real guns? Where are the real kits? Do we need a kit? Who's actually firing at us? You know, why are we even here? So all these questions going on. So we're trying to live and still organize. And in that process, you have to give and take.
That's right.
Now, family, we are down to our last minute, so we're going to say bye. If everyone can say goodbye, I hope to see you guys next week. We're going to try to invite, I did approach some people to join in, and it was a bit too early, but we're going to try to definitely get more sisters on to discuss what they're saying. And we are obviously continuing the Black Love campaign, and we're going to try to get views and all that good stuff. But I would like everyone to thank Brother Kel. Brother Kel always comes with a great food for thought, and and it's very helpful, and we need this. And hopefully other people can feel comfortable jumping as well. But last words, Brother Kel, while we go. No? Okay. Any last words, Brother Kel? Oh. Maybe Brother Kel's microphone is playing up. So, guys, we're going to go now. But if there's any topics you'd like us to cover, let us know. Leave your messages in the group. All this good stuff. Just let us know. And, until then, Black Betterment. We should good. Kat, you can continue the discussion in the actual forums once we process this video, which I shall do in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Goodbye, all Black Betterment. Voila. And we go.